Hello, everyone. Wow, this is a pretty packed room. It filled up. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm Dipti Borkar, and excited to be here along with Josh and Adi to share a ton of announcements, lots of demos, and let's get started. I'm Dipti. I'm VP for OneLake, as well as our Fabric ecosystem. And it's been a fantastic journey since we started about 2 years ago. Here at Ignite, we GA'd Fabric as well as OneLake. And it's been a fantastic journey since then. Thank you for all your feedback, for all your customer feedback. We've been able to make a lot of announcements, and it's been 28,000 customers, paying customers already. These are both Fabric and OneLake customers together. Now, as AmirNet said yesterday, if you haven't heard of OneLake, you've been living under a rock, because it really is that foundation of Fabric. It unifies the entire ecosystem. You're in the right place here to talk about OneLake. We have about 80% of Fortune 500 customers already using and leveraging OneLake, and 6 million shortcuts, OneLake shortcuts, have already been created, and that's fantastic to see. What it demonstrates is the sheer power of this unification across clouds, across data platforms, across on-premise, pretty much all across the place. Now, in Satya's words, OneLake spans across all databases, data platforms, clouds, including semantic models as well from Power BI. And it really is the best source of data for your agentic applications, your models. This is what is going to power your models and your AI. But it starts off with unifying this data. And today, in many of your environments, this data is still highly fragmented. It's in many, many different places, many different platforms. And it needs to be accessed upstream by different consumers as well. It could be the Microsoft ecosystem. It could be other engines, query engines, and so on. And how do you integrate all this together? How do you get a single view of your data estate? Well, that's where OneLake comes in. OneLake truly unifies all of this data in one place. You have your Microsoft ecosystem. It could be Fabric data, or Fabric workloads, data warehouses, event houses, lake houses, Dataverse data, SharePoint data. You'll hear a little bit more about that. Productivity data that's coming in. Other data platforms, and we'll share a few announcements about this as well. And then finally, business data, so data from ERP systems, CRM systems, and so on. So once you have unified this data with OneLake, you can consume it all across the Microsoft ecosystem, from Excel to Teams to Power BI, of course, Fabric. There's an entire ecosystem that you can leverage this unified data in. But that's not where it ends. There's a lot more beyond that. We integrate OneLake APIs into so many other places. We introduced OneLake.table a few months ago at FabCon in September, and this has allowed us to use open formats like Iceberg and Delta to now bring in other data platforms like ClickHouse and Dremio and so many others that can seamlessly interop with OneLake. But instead of hearing more from me, I'd love to welcome our Clay Yeaman, as well as Purvis from Chevron, onto the stage to hear their journey with OneLake. Thank you so much for joining us, Clay.
Yeah,
thank you
so much. Yeah.
So you've been on this journey with OneLake and Fabric for some time now. Tell us a little bit about your journey with Fabric and the role that OneLake plays in it.
Sure, thank you for having us, Dipti. Our team is responsible for our enterprise data platform, and part of that today is providing AI-ready data. So really, OneLake is a big part of that for us. So we have lots of data from existing in our ADLS Gen 2 account, and we use shortcuts. We were able to use shortcuts to get that into a lakehouse to unify our data for our consumers inside the company. we not only do we just use shortcuts, like the shortcut transformations was huge for us because we do have some legacy data that's not in Delta and it's in 𝗲𝗀. So that was a huge, we're saving time and money by not having to refactor that, and we're able to take that time and put towards, in innovative solutions for us. Mirroring is also big for us because we have a custom solution currently that we've been using, and we're moving that to mirroring so that it provides more timely access to our data, and it allows us to save cost and streamline our things by, our solutions by shifting to mirroring.
Awesome. So there's a lot that you said in there. You have shortcuts, which is kind of virtualizing the data. You don't have to physically move it. Mirroring, that does have a copy for it for sources that may not be open formats and so on. That's great to hear. But tell us a little bit more about some of the other capabilities. There's a lot that really drives, can help drive adoption within the enterprise. So tell us a little bit more.
Sure. One of the long-term pains we've had in the past is securing our data. So obviously that's very important to us. And having to re-secure your data for every engine, every compute engine is consuming and time-consuming and takes effort. So one security is big for us. We're able to leverage our existing security model and apply that within OneLake, so that we can continue to provide secure access to our data. The other part about that is we're really excited about now being able to not just do that in the way we've done it in the past, but to go with more granular row level, column level security. So that'll help us maintain our governance on our data, and it helps us with secure, stable access to our data.
Great, and so instead of doing engine level security at every single engine, you've moved it down to the lake level and are just enabling democratization of that data across. That's great to hear. Yeah. Now, moving forward, what do you see as interesting features or capabilities that would be useful to you given your roadmap? Tell us a little bit about what you have in mind.
Yeah, thanks, Dipti. So a lot of the features that we're really excited about engaging with in Microsoft in the future is our unstructured data, as well as our agentic AI strategy at Chevron, right? Because we recently really gotten into that this year. A lot of the ideal future we want to do is being able to use shortcuts into things like SharePoint and OneDrive and Databricks and other unstructured data sources like that, and really drive a lot of that rich contextual and semantic information out to our business productivity, right? So through AI agents, Power BI analysis, Genie workspaces, all that great stuff. We're well on our enterprise AI journey, right? And with all these technologies like Copilot Studio and Foundry Studio and Microsoft, all those things, and that seamless access in OneLake, where we don't have to worry about hey, I have to reapply security over and over again for this agent versus that agent. I don't have to figure out who to go to get all these old access requests done, or I don't have to wait for data duplication processes and ETL pipelines, right? It's all just there instantly, right? And we can access that through our agentic AI platforms. And features like real-time intelligence, right, are really going to enable us to get more proactive about all of our technology, right? And stop reacting in minutes or hours and change that to seconds, right? And things like IoT Hub and all of our event hubs and all those other technologies that Microsoft gives us.
Awesome. Looks like a really rich roadmap. We're excited, and we might have a few more things coming right in this session that will get you excited about Foundry integrations and so on. But you did mention Azure Databricks, and you are today mirroring that data. And wouldn't it be great to have data from Databricks just natively reading and writing from OneLake? And so I am very excited to announce that Databricks will support native reads and writes from OneLake very soon, coming very soon. Reads coming at the end of this year, as well as writes coming next year. So thank you so much for your partnership and your sharing your journey, Paul and Clay.
Thank you.
So with OneLake tables, we've opened up the kind of integrations that we can have. Databricks is just one of them, and there's more. We are announcing SAP integration natively with OneLake. These are all zero-copy integrations, so there's no need to move your data from one place to another. All of this data is accessible directly in OneLake. And then finally, Snowflake, another very important strategic partner of ours. We have a lot of Snowflake capability that's already generally available, so give it a try. And with that, I'm going to bring up Josh to show you some demos and go into the specifics.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Josh.
All right, so let's get into it. There's three things we're going to talk about here. And Dipti alluded to a lot of this. First, we're going to unify our data. We're going to bring together sources from all over the place into one single unified data lake. Now, we're not doing this for no reason. We're unify it so we can discover it and use it anywhere. Reuse that data over and over again, multiple places. And along the way, as we bring it together and we use it, we're going to secure it. We're going to govern it. Govern it. So let's start with the unified data estate. Shortcuts. Very simple idea. If you know how to shortcut something in Windows, that's what a shortcut is. It's just metadata. It points to a location of where the data actually is. We originally used this to shortcut and virtualize data within OneLake. It's actually most commonly used to share data across OneLake itself. A lot of people implement the data mesh pattern. We have different owners of data being able to actually own their data, but still have it mashed up, used together with other locations, other data products, without any data movement, without any data duplication. And then we extended the idea. When we first launched with OneLake, we had no data in OneLake. Data was everywhere else. So we made shortcuts also work with any open storage system. You can point it to your data in Azure, in Blob, in ADLS. You can point it to AWS, in S3, Google Cloud Storage, Dataverse, on-prem data stored in S3-compatible sources like NetApp. Shortcuts let you virtualize all that into one logical lake. Now, shortcuts have recently gotten a lot better, too. As I mentioned, a traditional shortcut is just a pointer to data. What you see is what you get. But sometimes what you see is not exactly what you want. And you want to do a little bit of change to that data before you actually use it. And now we have shortcut transformations, which lets you apply that last mile transformation to the data. So what you see is not what you have to get. You can still get what you want by just simply creating a shortcut to it. And we have lots of different types of shortcut transformations. We have file type transformations where I can go from Parquet or JSON to a table. Anyone still using CSV files? Everyone's using CSV files. But go CSV to table. But maybe it's completely unstructured. You can run AI. We have AI transforms. You can run sentiment analysis, PII detection, redaction, text translation, summarization, all on top of your files, and get a result out of it. And that result might be a table. That result might be another file. Now let's talk mirroring for a moment. Mirroring is our way of bringing in external catalogs. It could be an external database. It could be an external Databricks catalog, a Snowflake database. Mirroring automatically synchronizes that metadata into your OneLake, brings it into your OneLake catalog, but it also brings in data. Now, it does this in two ways. If that data is stored in an open storage format, like Databricks stores in ADLS, in Delta Lake, if it stores in an open storage format, we shortcut it in there. Mirroring handles the actual shortcut creation and management for you. So all your data is available with no data movement, no data duplication. Now, if it's in a closed storage system, then we'll actually do a replication for you. And we'll manage that replication for you so the data is available. The end result's always the same. Data is available in OneLake either physically or virtually, and you can use it in all the same ways. Now, to make the replication feel a lot more like the actual shortcut, the storage for that is always free. So we're bringing data in physically or virtually through shortcuts. Now, we have lots of different shortcut sources available, and some big announcements on this one today, a bunch more generally available, all the different Azure data databases, SQL Server 2005, Azure PostgreSQL, Azure Cosmos DB, all generally available. Snowflake mirroring has already been generally available, but as of this week, if you're using Iceberg with Snowflake, rather than doing the replication of the data, we will actually do the shortcut creation and management for you. So it's just metadata sync at that point. Some big new announcements that are currently in public preview, SAP DataSphere, currently available in public preview. And one we're going to focus on next is SharePoint and OneDrive. Actually, SharePoint and OneDrive you can shortcut to, make your data available in OneLake. Again, no data movement, no data duplication. So let's take a look at all these. All right, we're in a workspace. We have the nice little task flow view here, which helps us kind of map out what we're doing. And you'll notice something here. We have a bunch of different sources. We have data coming cross-cloud from BigQuery. We have on-prem, Oracle DB, Snowflake, Databricks, and even some native SQL DB data in Fabric. Now, we unified this all into OneLake, and we unified it all into one lakehouse. We use OneLake shortcuts to even bring it together into one actual schema here. And you see all that data together in the same schema. And it all looks the same here. And it looks the same because it all actually works the same. And you can see the BigQuery data, the Databricks data, Oracle, Snowflake, SQL DB. Now, not all my data is always in a table. It's always as easy to use for me to bring in just like this. Sometimes I have to do a little work on it. Now, I can build a pipeline, I can spin up a notebook, but I can also just create a shortcut. So we have data that's managed by our business team, and it's done in SharePoint. So what we're going to go ahead here and do is create a shortcut. And you'll see two new options, SharePoint and OneDrive. Going in here, I just put in the connection to my SharePoint site. I just need to have access to it. I can browse it like a SharePoint site. Also, I can browse it like it's storage at this point. And here I have a bunch of CSV files. Now, CSV files are not Delta Lake files, they're not Parquet files, they're not tables. But we've automatically detected this, and we've recommended a transform, the CSV to table transform. That's it, a couple clicks here. I end up with a shortcut, and that shortcut is a table. Looks like a table, works like a table, has 174 rows in it, has got some data mistakes in it. I can fix this. We can go back to SharePoint. I can fix the data in the files directly. I can add more files. As new data shows, pop them into SharePoint. And just come back here and refresh. We see the data has been corrected. We see 295 rows have been added. All this by just working with files in SharePoint. Feels and works exactly like a shortcut, but there's a little bit of transformation happening in between. Now, because everything looks and works the same, it works in every Fabric engine or any engine that can talk Iceberg or Delta Lake. Here we are in the SQL endpoint. And I'm going to create a SQL query here. And this is not just a select top 100. We actually wrote a real query here. It's joining data across all these locations, Snowflake, on-premise Oracle, BigQuery, SharePoint. Data files in SharePoint, all joined together, all coming back with one result here within the SQL engine within Fabric. This will work in any Fabric engine, any engine outside of Fabric that can talk Delta Lake or Iceberg. So we unify. And we unify to reuse the data. Let's talk about open access. A key principle when we first launched Fabric was this concept of lake-centric, and within lake-centric being one copy of data. One copy of data means that you can use the same copy of data across multiple engines without exporting it or re-importing it, without having to duplicate it. So, for example, let's say I have a team who wants to build a data warehouse. They're used to working with T-SQL. They're used to working with stored procedures. They can do that. They can use the data warehouse engine here to build a data warehouse. But that ends up just being data in OneLake. It's in Delta Lake format. And then any other engine within Fabric or outside of Fabric can consume that without having to go through that data warehouse engine. They all work directly off the same copy of data. So now, which tool you use to build your lake is really just a matter of preference. What do the teams like to work with? You can separate that from how the data is going to be consumed. So you can use one to create an n number to consume, and you can have multiple creators owning different parts of that same lake, using different tools to do that. This works within Fabric. This works outside of Fabric. But it all still builds one unified lake. So we've been extending this. When we launched, we had shortcuts, we had mirroring. we always had the same storage APIs that Azure Storage provides. So the ADLS APIs, DFS, and the blob APIs that Azure Storage provides. That can be used for bringing data in. That's also how we would always get data out. Data and metadata would come through always the storage APIs. But we have tables. And now we have table APIs. So we recently released OneLake.table. And this is both Iceberg and Delta Lake standard REST APIs sitting directly on top of the data in OneLake. So all data is available in OneLake. And if it's in either Delta Lake or Iceberg, it can be consumed from storage. It can be consumed from either the Delta or Iceberg APIs, no matter which format it was actually written in, or no matter which API was used to actually write it. So if you have applications or you're working with services that only know Delta Lake, well, it can work with OneLake, and it can be consumed by services that know Delta Lake or Iceberg, and vice versa. All you have to do is work with an application that knows at least one of these file formats. Or you can work with storage directly through the storage APIs. All data is available through all formats and through all APIs automatically for you. Yeah, OneLake.table, it said coming soon. No, actually available. The slide change is coming soon. Literally, you address your items within Fabric. This can be a lakehouse. This can be a warehouse. This can be a semantic model. All Fabric data is available. You can pop that into any service that understands how to work with Iceberg or Delta Lake. And it will automatically interface with those APIs in a standard way. Again, all data is available. And Snowflake is actually one of the best examples of this. So Snowflake, available now, we have essentially bidirectional sharing. So all Fabric data is available within Snowflake. All Snowflake data is available within Fabric. And now Snowflake can natively write its data to OneLake and store it there without any additional storage resources. So what's new that we announced this week is much deeper integration, especially for the native storage. So we actually now have a Snowflake database native to Fabric called Snowflake Database. And UI in Snowflake to help set this up, set the defaults. And now the mirroring of Snowflake, which was already generally available, now also supports Iceberg tables and will create shortcuts for you and manage those shortcuts for you automatically whenever Iceberg tables are used. So no longer a need to replicate data if it's in an open storage format. This is now handled automatically for you with Snowflake mirroring. Let's look at this. So just imagine for a minute your organization uses both Snowflake and Fabric. You have some data that's sitting in Fabric. You want to build a new analytics warehouse. And you're going to do that. Let's say you're going to do that within Snowflake. Now, traditionally, when you do this, you'd create two silos of data. And you'd have a hard time getting them to talk to each other. But now, as of this week, when you go into Snowflake and you create a new database, you're going to have some options. Let's take a look at those. You have an option now to store the data natively in OneLake. And you're going to set this up. You're going to connect it up to your OneLake instance within Fabric. And it's going to do a couple things automatically. It's going to automatically store all Iceberg tables in OneLake. So it's set up. It's created. I've added some data. Data is loaded here. It's reading and writing that data directly to OneLake. I can query it here. When I go over to Fabric, I now see a Snowflake database called a Snowflake database in Fabric itself, stored in OneLake. Let's go and take a peek inside. You see that same data in here automatically. And because it's in OneLake, just like before, it works with any Fabric engine. Here's a Spark engine. I'm going to run some queries on top of that. I can use Copilot directly on top of that data. I can use it both in Snowflake. I can use it both in Fabric. I can use it anywhere this data is accessible. No silos created, no data movement, no data duplication. We're always working off the same copy of data. But we've talked a lot about structured data. And a lot of the engines you work with in Fabric will be working with structured data. But OneLake essentially was based on object store initially. And we could store anything in there, any file type. Structured, unstructured, open, closed. And there are a lot more ways now to make use of that data. AI is one of those. So you can now shortcut the data that's sitting in ADLS, Azure Blob Storage, Google, Amazon S3, NetApp sitting on premises. and SharePoint. All these can contain unstructured data. And you can model these within the same lakehouses, warehouses that you have your structured data. And now it's all modeled as one package. You have your structured data, you have your unstructured data, you have the context that goes along with that. What type of lakehouse is this? And it's a package that can travel with the data wherever it's used. And you can connect this up to lots of other services like AI Foundry. Oh, sorry, Microsoft Foundry. Slide was updated at that time. So let's actually take a look at how this will work within Foundry. So here's that lakehouse from earlier. Has our structured tables in it. But go down to the file section here. You see I have a few different sources in here. I have Azure Blob. I have transcripts coming from Azure Blob. These are just unstructured JSON files of just the call transcripts. We have NetApp on-prem, really, really popular file shares, network storage. We have PDF sitting in there. And then if you haven't gotten the point yet, we released SharePoint shortcuts. And we have a bunch of different files of all different formats sitting in SharePoint. And unlike the SharePoint demo I showed you before, this is just a regular shortcut. There's no transform here. What you see is what you get. And the data is just virtualized directly into our OneLake. Now, Foundry knows none of this. I can go to Foundry, I can go to a knowledge base. And within that knowledge base, I can now connect to OneLake. And this is not a Delta Lake or an Iceberg connection. This is going to go right over our storage APIs, our Blob and DFS APIs. Foundry has no idea where this data is coming from, that it's originally SharePoint. All it knows is this is one piece of data that's bringing that whole unit in together. Once I connect, it can go and index, create vectors, representations automatically. And now I can build an agent against that. And we'll add our knowledge source as the source of data for that agent. And just like that, I can start asking then questions against this agent. And that question is going to reach out to on-prem, get to our NetApp data. It's going to reach out to blob storage, it's going to reach out to SharePoint. It doesn't have to know. This is all being abstracted, and the answers just come back. So the same principles, the same things we do for structured data are available for unstructured. Same things we do for analytics are available for AI. That includes unification. That includes discovery, reuse. And as you're going to see in a moment, that's going to include security and governance. So let's talk about unified security and governance. OneLake security. This has been a little bit of a long time coming for us. Fully available in public preview right now. And what we did with OneLake security was a lot. You think of traditional data lake security, you're securing maybe files, folders, buckets, counts. That wasn't good enough. It's not enough for a modern data estate. And what you'll typically do is you'd move the data elsewhere and secure it elsewhere. That creates copies of data. That creates inconsistencies of how you secure the data. So we had to do a few things. First, we had to make the lake itself much more capable of securing data, much more functional. So we took role-based access control. We made that available in the lake. We took row-level security, column-level security, all the table-level security concepts. We made those available natively in the lake. Now you can configure your security, even complex row-level security with joins. You can make that, configure that in the lake itself, and it lives with the data itself. And then it travels wherever that data is used. And that could be across shortcuts. And that could be across multiple different engines. And these are engines that were built over many years for many different purposes, with many different architectures. They do many different tricks for performance, lots of caching. And we had to have a way that we could then consistently share those policies across each of these engines so that, one, it's performant, two, it's secure. That should be one. One, it's secure, two, it's performant. And three, it's consistent. You always get the same result wherever you are. And this is what OneLake security does. I can set one security policy in the lake itself with the data, and it'll get used and enforced no matter wherever that data is used. So a couple announcements with OneLake security. First of all, it is in public preview, so you can go use this today. Some new stuff that's come out this week is we just added write permission. So if you've been working within a lakehouse before, you can only ever set read permission. And you can do that pretty granular for each folder if you wanted to. You can always do it by table, by row. Now, at least for folders, you can set write permission. You can have different users have different permissions to write to different folders without having to give them full write access to the entire item in Fabric anymore. So this is a pretty big change, and the APIs are available with this as well too if you're looking to automate this. Everything we do in OneLake Security always comes with the same set of APIs, so you can automate everything. Now this is a piece of the security that we have within Fabric, within OneLake. I'm going to invite Adi up here to really take us through the rest.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adi. I'm part of the Fabric platform team. And I work closely with Josh because we take care about everything to do with governing your data and making sure your data remains secure. Oh, went back. So Josh touched on OneLake security and how OneLake is interoperable with everything and unifies your data and is open. But then we need to make sure that that data remains governed and secure. And in Fabric, we provide a very broad list. This is not an exhaustive list. It's just a representative list of all of the built-in capabilities around security and governance. So for instance, the abilities to make sure your data is managed well. In terms of administration settings, in terms of structuring your data according to your business unit needs and grouping it logically, in terms of managing capacities and domains. Making sure your data remains secure, so not just with OneLake security, but with outbound access control, network security, integrated policies, such as with Purview and others, sensitivity labels. Making sure your data remains discoverable and trustworthy and curated. So that's with the catalog and with search and with endorsement of your data and adding tags and metadata and so forth. And last but not least, observability, right? How do I monitor everything that's going on with my tenant? How do I track metrics, take action on that, audit, and so forth? So we provide all of this, mostly built in, but we also provide integrated capabilities. And the beauty about all of this is that it all meets centrally within the catalog and is surfaced through there. So we have the OneLake catalog on top of OneLake, which brings in all of these capabilities, A, around data discovery and making sure your data is discoverable, explorable, curated, can be managed. B, around governance, so getting governance insights and proactive recommendations and so forth. And C, around OneLake security. And obviously, we're on top of OneLake. We're powered by Copilot and AI capabilities. And we're open at every level. So this is a really nice slide. But let's break it down a bit to some of the product truth behind it. So first of all, the OneLake catalog, powered by OneLake, truly supports all of the Fabric items everywhere. So all of the Fabric item types surfaced there are searchable and browsable. It includes also the shortcuts that Josh was mentioning earlier. So those are also part of the catalog. You can see all of the item types, data item types, analytics item types, insights, such as the Power BI items and reports and so forth. We also integrate with third-party items. So part of the extensibility story that Fabric has, if there are ISVs and toolkits which have onboarded, you'll find them in the catalog as well. And obviously, the mirror data brought into OneLake, it's all there. Second, it's not only about bringing everything into the catalog, it's also about how do I access everything and how can I access the catalog from everywhere. And the catalog is integrated today into over 100 experiences, both within Microsoft and beyond. And so, for instance, it's well integrated into Office, and then you'll have business users which can access OneLake data from within Teams or Excel or Foundry, right, and others. And so it's all accessible there. And we also are powered with various AI capabilities, and I'll show a few later in the session. Second is the built-in governance and scale, and that's that second bullet. So it's not only about discovering data, but it's also about getting out-of-the-box insights, governance insights on the status of your data. And we have data owners today which can access that Govern tab and see insights on the status of their data, how refreshed it is, what's the breakdown to the various item types, how well curated it is, and also get proactive recommendations on what should be done to improve the status of their data. And today, one of the announcements is that we've also expanded that Govern experience to tenant admins, to Fabric admins, so they can actually get an out-of-the-box tenant-wide view on their entire data estate and act accordingly. And you'll see part of that in the demo in a second. We also allow implementing a data mesh pattern. We have thousands of organizations leveraging it today where they can logically group and structure their data according to their needs of their business units. And then that allows both optimized consumption for their users, as well as more granular control, because you can adjust and assign to those domains policies, settings, and so forth. And we have a lot of protection policies that we support today with sensitivity labels or data loss prevention, where you will enforce access permissions based on that, or outbound access, and so forth. And we're evolving, actually, the set of policies to provide more capabilities in the future. Around trust, so Josh was touching on OneLake security. That's a big piece, and that's integrated into the catalog, and it's exposed in that third secure tab. But we also integrate with other tools for that, like Purview, and I mentioned that earlier. We also monitor AI usage that you have, for instance, with the Power BI chat with your data. So actually making sure that the AI usage there is audited and that there's no foul play being done there. It's all tracked as well. And as being that catalog for OneLake, and Josh touched on that, so I won't repeat, OneLake is open at every level with the open standards. We support that. APIs, catalog API. OneLake is accessible through APIs. OneLake catalog provides APIs, and there are more coming soon there. And we also integrate with first and third party catalogs to provide an additional layer of value. So both with Purview as a first party, but also we're integrated with Informatica, with Calibra, with Atlassian, with Atlan. And that's part of that story where you just need to get to OneLake and to OneLake catalog, and you'll get all the rest. The fact that we bring so much is why this is already the biggest catalog today. It's used by over 230,000 organizations worldwide. That's 95% of the Fortune 500 that we're seeing. It's also accessible to over 30 million users, including business users who can access today OneLake data through the catalog. And as I mentioned earlier, we're also integrated into over 100 experiences. So the fact that we're integrated so broadly, and we also make sure that the data remains secure, and we persist the security and the metadata and the curation during that integration is why we're getting stronger and stronger there. A bit on some announcements that have come out now, and some coming soon, meaning later this year or early Q1 next year. So first of all, and I mentioned, we've expanded that Govern tab, that Govern experience, to support also out-of-the-box insights and recommended actions for admins on their entire data estate, and you'll see that in a demo in a sec. We're also powering a lot of the capabilities with AI. So for instance, you can already, based on the insights that you'll get, chat with your data and get further insights and deeper analysis on your governance reports. Or for instance, around your data management and your curation. For instance, when exploring semantic models, you can quickly already get AI-powered auto summary on that data and then know how to act. Is that the data that I care about? Do I want to connect to it? Did I find what I was looking for? And coming soon, we're already integrated with Excel today. I mentioned it earlier. But we're going to expand to supporting and accessing more data sources from OneLake through that. So for instance, you can already access today's semantic models, but soon you'll be able to access lakehouses and warehouses through the OneLake catalog, as well as it will be in one of the more modern Get Data experiences, and not just through the experience today. We're introducing new catalog search and browse APIs. By the way, totally aligned with also the catalog endpoint API that Josh mentioned earlier, which you can later use for the deeper query of your data. And allowing more and more previews of also table level, column level schema to help make your discovery more efficient. So let's see a demo in action. And important to say, everything you'll see in the demo is product truth. It's not like a visionary thing you can access today and get all of that. And obviously, more and more capabilities will evolve over time.
The OneLake catalog is the central place to discover, govern data in Fabric. Let's see it in action. I'll start by browsing the sales domains for optimized discovery per my business needs. When I see the domain branding, I know I'm in the right place. To find what I need, I can filter by ownership, endorsement, favorite, workspace, or tags. And the catalog provides a complete view of all item types, like reports, lakehouses, and semantic models. Clicking any item surfaces detailed metadata, including the item description, applied tags, ownership details, and workspace location. I can drill into a data item to view tables and columns, see related metadata such as descriptions, and quickly search for specific objects. The Lineage tab shows me the flow of data from its source to its destination. Monitor tracks refresh history and execution status, while Permissions provides visibility into who has access. And it's not just about exploration. I can also take action directly from here, such as sharing, editing, or curating items using the auto summary feature without switching context. I also need to make sure that data I'm responsible for is well governed. And that's where the Govern tab comes in. I get key insights at a glance, such as the number and type of items I own, and can click to see more. Report View highlights important information like data hierarchy and metadata attributes across items I own. And I can chat with my data using Copilot or filter and drill into areas of interest. Back on the main view, I see recommended governance actions like increasing sensitivity label coverage and can click for an overview on the issue and the steps I can take. I can also access governance solutions, resources, and integrated capabilities. Also, Fabric admins can now view insights and recommendations for their tenant-wide data estate. Security is managed separately in the Secure tab. From here, I can see who has access to content and modify role policies. View Users gives me a list of everyone's access and the roles they hold in workspaces. From View Security Roles, I see role definitions, names, types, and permissions. I can adjust the scope by adding or removing paths, and review or update members. OneLake Catalog is integrated into more than 100 surfaces across Fabric and Office, including Teams and Excel, and gives me everything I need to discover, govern, and secure data in a single, seamless experience.
Okay, so this was just a short list of the capabilities that exist today. No setup required, all available out of the box. So I do encourage you to have a look and explore further. There are many more actions that can be done there. There was a lot of information that all of us shared today. For any follow-ups that you might have, we're all going to be in the booth later today, and also in 15 minutes, if we get there on time, we're going to be in the conversation corner, which is near the booth as well. So feel free to reach out either to Dipti, myself, or Josh for any of the related topics. And thank you for listening today.